Is there a fear that you were running from that pushed you to start your first business?
Yeah, being broke.
More than that.
Yeah, like I woke up one day after I was married. I was 24, just got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
I had an abusive marriage, and I had a temp job, call centers you can do from home.
Yeah.
And so I was doing one of those. It was a temporary job, but then after about 2 months, they sent an email and was like, all right, temporary job done. I had no backup plan.
Thing.
Because, people say temporary and then it turns into permanent. Yeah, it didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, snap. What do I do? And my baby sister, she's 13 months younger than me, so she's really not a baby. But she was like, dude, just get paid for what you already do. You already write people's books and help them edit it. Just start charging more. Go build a business. And she knows nothing about business. She will not start a business at all. And I was like, dang, that's kind of smart. Let me do it. And that's literally how I got into business. Because I had a daughter from that marriage. At the time, she was 3 going on 4-ish, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. And I was like, dang, I got to take care of this kid. Her daddy ain't going to do nothing. I have to figure this out. And that's what made me initially go into business. I got to take care of this kid. I don't want to be broke. And I'm 24 and life cannot end at 24. Have you ever seen those stupid Lifetime movies?
Yeah.
Where like somebody gets divorced and they're depressed and
yeah.
I was like, I can't do that. That's so whack.
Yeah.
I got to find something to throw myself into, and that's how I got into business. Yeah, I would say that. And I couldn't get a job with all my degrees. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I saw that you had a communications specialist master's.
Yes.
That didn't get you anything?
Nope. It got me a lot of interviews, but what they kept wanting was you to be able to write and do graphic design and do video editing and do photography. And I'm like, yo, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
I got one skill. I can write and I can talk. And so because I didn't have all those skills, it made it hard for me to get a job, which even more further pushed me into having to just do my own thing. And nobody told me you need to have some complementary skills. So now that I know, I try to tell everybody hey, do what you do, but find something else that matches, because they're going to ask you to do it all. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did the communications masters help you get into business?
It helps me in my business, yes. So I have an undergrad, my bachelor's is in English. Mm-hmm. So a lot of literature, a lot of reading, but I knew I wasn't about to teach that. I like it, but not to teach it. And then my master's in communications with a concentration in business. But in undergrad, I didn't know I was going to do business. Had I known, I probably would have got a marketing degree and then went on to do an MBA, a traditional path. But as a communication specialist, all we did is literally what I do now. Teach people how to communicate, their brand, their businesses, how to say certain things so you don't come off as offensive. Literally what I was doing in school is what I'm doing for business. So it just happened to work out for me. It don't work out for everybody, but it works out for me.
Do you feel like school is necessary for that?
No.
How would you have gone about it?
I know that's a loaded thing to say. Being an educator, but nope, school's not necessary. Because I feel some stuff you are naturally just born with. People can't teach you charisma, but they can teach you how to communicate. But you can learn how to communicate just by having conversations with people and saying stuff back to how when someone says something to you and you don't like it, you don't like how it sits, and you're like, well, it's not what they said, it's how they said it. Mm-hmm. It's so simple. So I feel you can be a really good communicator without formal education if you pay attention to life. Maybe there's some certifications you can get, to get better, but I'm some people, I meet people that have been on New York Best Times, what is it, the New York New York Times bestsellers list.
I have no clue. I know what you're talking about.
But those big lists that everybody wants to get on, and they don't have college degrees. So I'm dang, I got all these degrees.
I've been reading a lot more recently.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I see books where people are their publishers are this isn't going to be successful, the 4-Hour Workweek, The Alchemist.
Yes.
Those two books it's different, but they're both inspiring.
Still selling millions though.
Yeah. And at the beginning they just weren't hopeful, I guess.
And a lot of publishers won't push it when they think it doesn't. But 4-Hour Workweek, I'm so many people are that's my life now. I read this book, and there's a 12-week year.
Yeah.
Of course, The Alchemist, I feel that's inspirational, keeping you to, motivating you to keep going, keep pushing, always have something to aspire towards.
Yeah.
And I think I have The Alchemist. I have the paper book, and then I think I have the Audible too. Because sometimes I get in my moods where I'm in the car, you got it. Yes.
I checked it out in the library yesterday.
Yes, it's time for me to read again. And the 4 Agreements. You ever read that one?
No.
You gotta add that one to the list.
Yeah.
You gotta add the 4 Agreements to the list. And so I think if you are a reader and you absorb information well, like, you can do what I do. You don't have to get 12 million degrees. Not at all.
Are there any books that you feel like influenced you, like a lot more than others? I don't know how to word that.
The 4 Agreements, back in like 2019, I was going through like a real rough time. Mm-hmm. And somebody was like, you should just read this book. It was either a coach of mine or a therapist. And I'm like, what? Like, I just told you I'm depressed. What the heck? What book? And they're like, the 4 Agreements. It's like these agreements you put with yourself, like you make with yourself. And the one that I took away the most was don't take anything personally. Like an agreement humans need to have with themselves is like, don't take anything personally, because everybody's on their individual journeys and we just end up intersecting at some point, but it's not personable. Like, everybody is doing their own thing. So if somebody offends you, somebody lies to you, steals from you, like, don't take it personal. Like, it's an offense specifically towards you. It's like they just did it regardless of who you are. Yeah. And I use that in life and in business, especially in business, but more life than anything, because I think it's easy to get offended, even for somebody like me who type A personality, very dominant, like I know what I want. Like, I can get offended easily and be like, I'm never talking to you ever again.
Yeah. Is there any way you go about talking about offensive things to other people? When
somebody offends me?
No, I mean as in, like, if there's something that could be triggering, how do you go about talking?
Disclaimer, letting them know, like, hey, this might get really real really quick, or, you know, it may be deep, or this is not something that the public normally would talk about in a public setting. And I usually ask for permission, like, is it okay to go there? Like, is it okay to talk about it? Or like, can I be real for a moment? That's how I usually start stuff, when it's a possibility that somebody's going to, like, hey, can I be real for a moment? And most people say yes.
That's a more casual way of introducing it, too.
Instead of being they say yes, and then they still get offended. But, you know, it is what it is. Like, can't help it.
Being a successful businesswoman, how do you feel about female role models in current day society, and are there any that you looked up to?
Ooh. You know what's so terrible? No.
Yeah.
Like, I like Michelle Obama. Okay? Yeah. Like, because who doesn't? And if you don't, like, you're a weirdo. But, like, I don't really have any role models that I look up to. But it wasn't always that way. Like, when I was first starting in business, there were people I would watch, but I don't. Dang, that sucks to say that, but I don't really have any role models like, hey, if I could do anything, I would want to be, like, model after this. No. When I was younger, I used to feel that way. I can't tell you who these people are right now, but I used to, because I felt like that's what you needed. You need models to go after, but the older I get, I'm like, nah, I'm doing my own thing. Yeah. Doing my own thing. So that's just kind of how it goes.
I'm trying to think of a way to word this. Because of how I'm stuck right now, is there any way that you try to start conversation with people that you want to get them invested in you? Does that make sense?
Like, if I'm trying, when I'm in my good moods, I'm extremely friendly. Like, I'll walk up to anybody and be like, hey, I'm Maleeka, what's your name? But if I'm not in my moods, or if I'm, like, too much in my head, I won't do it. Like, I'll wait for them to, like, approach me. Like, if we make eye contact, you know, I'll smile, but I won't say anything. And so if it's somebody I want to, like, engage in conversation, or, like, somebody I've met from social media, like today at an event that I spoke at, I knew 2 of the speakers that were there. One of them actually spoke at my event like 4 years ago. So as soon as I saw him, we were like, hey, we're hugging. Another I only knew from social media. Like, we had only engaged on social media for maybe 2 or 3 years now. So, you know, you start feeling like social media friends. Yeah. And as I'm getting off the elevator, he was getting on another going up, and I saw him, and I was like, we both, like, did this number, like, hey. And I actually got back on the elevator, went back up, and had, like, a whole 45-minute conversation in the hallway. Because I was like, hey, I hate just meeting people on social media and not, like, engaging in and not, like, engaging with them in person. And so that's typically what I do. I usually like, hey, I'm Maleeka, what's your name? Like, what do you do? Like, what are you here for? Like, people like talking about themselves.
I know.
And so once you get them talking, like, they don't stop. So I just feel like once you go, like, if it's somebody you want to talk to, just go up and introduce yourself.
Okay.
You can start with a question, But most of the time, just saying, hey, or, I've been following you, or what's your name? What brought you here? You get people talking. You can talk to anybody. Yeah, another book you can put on your list, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You got that one?
Yeah, I was reading it.
Dale Carnegie,
Yeah, I'm like halfway through. I haven't really touched it in a couple of months, but...
But it's a good one. Like, it's a good communication, like, networking book, too.
Yeah, I heard somebody went through the book and just opened it, read like 2 or 3 pages, and then just went out and tried to apply that right then instead of like trying to consume the whole book and everything.
Because you're not gonna remember the whole book.
Yeah.
So I like that approach. Like, why not? Like, I think I actually listened to it on Audible multiple times. I used to not be able to listen to books because I'm like, no, I got to feel it in my hand. And then I graduated. Became a grown up. Graduated to a Kindle, and I was like, all right, still reading words now. I'm like, look, I'm in the car a long time. Sometimes I can do podcasts, but sometimes I actually have to like listen to a book. I like listening to biographies too. I learn a lot from biographies.
Whose biography?
I just listened to 2, actually 3. First was Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. The Southern actor. Like,
I've heard his name.
He's such a crazy like narrator. But Matthew McConaughey, I just listened to. Matthew Perry from Friends.
I don't know much about
I've never watched the episode of Friends, but because I know how big it was when I was young, and then Matthew Perry just passed, or died. That's how we say in the media. He's dead now. This was last year. I was like, let's listen to it. So it was for him. It was more about his journey into Hollywood and then his addiction that he battled the whole time. And then I listened to the mother of Black Hollywood, Jennifer Lewis. So I just like listening to books the same way you're doing this interview.
Yeah. How
did people get to where they are? Because I know it hadn't been easy. And of course, like, they were like rising to fame in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and it's like life has changed so much. I'm a millennial. I was born in 1990. But just from when I grew up until now, life is so different. So I'm like, I know how easy it is, kind of, sort of, for us to make it with YouTube and social. Like, how did you become nobody and then become somebody with like limited resources? So that's why I listen to a lot of biographies.
Something that I learned about this morning. So they introduced this guy, Wilbur. It's this guy who had applied to Yale, but he got his face smashed in. So he was bedridden for like 3 years.
Holy crap, yeah.
So Yale was off the table.
Yeah.
His mom was bedridden as well, so he was taking care of himself and his mom. And something like had fascinated him. He was bedridden, so he couldn't really do much.
Yeah.
So he started doing a lot of research on birds and like, why can they fly and not us? And this is in the 1900s, so you might know where this is going.
That's an interesting thing to look up. Like, why can birds fly and people can't?
And there weren't many like books on it at the time. So he consumed like as much as he could.
Yeah.
And then once he was able to go out, he started doing tests and wanted to build a plane.
Okay.
And his brother was Orville. It was the Wright brothers. But
so he got his face smashed in?
Yeah, it just shows like a lot of life happened to them, but then they happened to us.
Now I'm interested. Like, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know the backstory, but that's wild.
Yeah, I know. And it's like they created something that's so like, I don't know, world changing. We use it so much. Yeah. Like, it literally transformed the world.
Me and my mom were just talking about planes today. Because, a helicopter crashed yesterday or this morning. A family was, how you do tours around the city on helicopters?
Yeah.
Right around Manhattan, and the helicopter crashed into the ocean, and like people saw it,
but
didn't know what do you do? It's in the water. And so we were just talking about how planes and commercial planes crashing and all this, and I was like, I wonder what made somebody decide let's fly in the air. So when you said it, I'm like, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I don't want to fly no time soon. And I was like, yeah, me neither. I'm good.
It's weird because people take all these like inventions for granted, but it's something that people spent so much time working for.
And they had life happen and still like pull stuff off.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I like looking at it, because I'm like, my life hasn't been like extremely hard. I can't lie and say it has been, but it's still like, hey, stuff is happening. Like, how do people have life happen and they still end up like doing great stuff? Like, that's wild to me. We're doing it too, right? But you don't look at it in yourself until like later on. Like, somebody got to tell you about it.
something that I noticed recently is a lot of people who aren't super successful don't respect all the things that successful people do.
Agreed.
Which is so like odd to me, because they're getting mad at them for something they could be happy about.
I think it's a jealousy thing. Like, it's almost like I could have done this, or like why them and not me? But I'm like, but it could be you. Like, just pick something. I literally told those students this morning, and I talked to, like, there's really no difference between you and me. Like, you're in college now. I was in college, 10 years ago. There's no difference. And some of y'all probably better off than I was, because you're having things like this. Like, I didn't have people just sit here and, like, talk to me. Like, my teachers and stuff would talk to me, but, like, I didn't do no networking. And I didn't do none of that. So
the internet wasn't as developed as it is now.
Yeah, like, it's insane. And social media, when I got to college, was just really getting, like, started. I went to college in 2008. That's when I graduated high school. And so it was fairly new.
Yeah.
And
Facebook?
so
Facebook?
Yeah, man. I was on Facebook. Back then, well, it was Facebook, but it was still coming out of, like, just being for the Yales and the Harvard, like, just for the student network.
Yeah.
And so everything was so new. We had MySpace. Like, we had MySpace, in which I was telling my students the other day, like, what happened? I was telling them the other day, like, with MySpace, we had to code to create our profiles. And nobody taught us how to code, but we all knew how to code.
Yeah.
The strangest thing in the world.
It's like, people fight to try to fit in. They'll do whatever they can to fit in. I guess so. And that's what I see in that.
We did. And we would do things like put my top 10 favorite friends list on your MySpace page. So you got like 20 friends, and then you do your top 10, and you got 3 best friends, and they're like, well, why am I number 3? And it would start like legit arguments in middle school. But I'm like, why are we so bold back then to say, these are my top 10 favorite people?
Why was that something you care about?
I mean, we're kids.
Yeah, that's true.
But that couldn't happen now.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that now. Like, people are,
people take offense to everything.
Yeah, so I'm like, we were some bold people back then. What happened? Like, is it because society, got a little bit soft, or like, what is it? But like, that's a big change.
Talking about like sensitive people, people that they're so sensitive that they don't, like, they'll do something, or I don't know if it's sensitivity, but they'll do something and blame it on somebody else and never see that they're in the wrong, or at least admit that. They're
just unaware people. I feel like sometimes people know, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. How do you handle situations with people like that?
Stop it. I call them out, because I would expect people to call me out as well. Okay. Like, I had a situation, and this is terrible to say, but I had a situation where I got so mad and, like, blacked out, and I broke somebody's MacBook. Like, straight got mad, was like, you know what? I'm going for it. In the moment, I was like, I'm not wrong. You did me wrong first.
Yeah.
But then after I calmed down, I was like, dude, like, you need to go to therapy again. Like, number one, you're too old. Number two, why did you get so upset? Like,
that's my question. Why did you get so upset?
I don't know. It was just, I was so offended at what was at the situation. And the person wasn't in front of me, but again, their MacBook was. So I was like, I'm gonna hurt them back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we've been in therapy for 5 years. What was that? Like, so it's easy to forget. And this is why I say, I like for people to call me out, and I'll call people out, because, like, you forget. Like, I don't get angry like that. That's probably the second time in my life I've ever gotten angry in that way. So I'm like, okay, was I having a bad day? And I'm like, no, my day was actually good. So I had to look at all the circumstances and tell myself, like, dude, you was wrong. So I literally wiped my almost new MacBook and was like, all right, until I figure out what I'm going to do about this,
here you go.
You got to use mine. And I still don't like fool with this person, but it was just, what is the right thing to do? So call me, like, and they were just like, why you do that? Like, that's how I make money. That's how I'm like, I blacked out. Like, I apologize because I was wrong, but I like to call people out, because I do believe that some people are really just unaware of their behavior. Like, if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, and then you see a normal family, you're like, dang, we're messed up, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's something like that. So I'm like, if sometimes you show people, it like allows them to like open up their eyes to actually see what it is.
Show them from like an outside perspective.
Yeah,
or,
like,
okay.
hey, you just said this. Let's talk about how this could be offensive. Because they just, bless you, they're just sitting there being themselves.
Mm.
They have no intelligence to realize, like, hey, what I'm saying could be triggering to you based off your life experience.
Mm.
So always like an outside opinion, I consider anyways. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Something that I was talking to another one of my professors about is how to like work on your emotional instincts.
Yeah.
Just what he's recommended is just delaying it, spending like even just like 2 or 3 seconds actually thinking about it instead of instantly reacting out of just emotion.
And in that situation where I broke the MacBook, had I delayed my reaction, I would not have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I looked around and was like, what can I destroy? And so had I like just walked away and then came back, I'm sure I would have been like, I'm not destroying anything. Like, I'm going home. But I also feel like sometimes thinking, like just stopping for 2 or 3 seconds, like, wait, how do I form this without, doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Because it forces you, it's not natural for most people to pause.
Yeah.
We usually like, you talk.
We're animals.
Yeah, like, let's go. But I feel like when you pause, you're able to just get a little bit more perspective. Almost like a filter.
Mm.
I hate to say you should filter yourself because I don't believe you should. But I do think depending on the environment, depending on who you're speaking with, like you might want to pause.
Yeah, I think a filter in that way, as in pausing and actually thinking about it, it's still your true self. It's just more intelligent because you're actually thinking things through.
Like sometimes you don't want to say what your gut reaction was. Like,
and I feel like you still have individuality in that sense. So I don't think pausing is a bad thing. Yeah. It might depend on the situation. If you're like having fun with people.
I have to do that a lot when I'm teaching. I have to go, wait a minute, let me figure out how to say this. Because of course it is a professional environment. Mm-hmm. It's a creative environment, but there's still some decorum that has to happen. So I have to go, okay. Can't say that how I would normally say it if I was just in a group with my friends, because these are my students. So I'll say out loud, let me think about this real quick before I just blurt it out. Mm. So I think it's still an authentic answer. It's just tailored to the environment, like because it's a classroom setting. But if I was even seeing some of my students like walking down the street and I said, I may say it how it came to me initially, because we're not in that setting. Like, I'm not gonna drop F-bombs or nothing, but I would be more candid, like outside of the professional setting, if that makes sense.
What do you have any personal motives that led you to teaching that are not necessarily for other people?
I didn't want to actually teach until I wanted to retire. Like, this was my retirement plan. Mm-hmm. But when I got burnt out in business and I was like, I just need to take some time to just breathe. And I took like 2 years off, like doing nothing. And one of my friends, who's also a professor where I work, she was like, I just got a job here. You should look at this. You'd be great with these kids. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't. Like, nobody's going to let me teach anybody right now. And she was like, just try it. And I'm like, fine, whatever. Like, it was low-key a fluke, but I was like, well, I didn't want to do this to like another 7-8 years.
But you were bored.
But I had free time. Because if I was running my businesses like normal, I wouldn't have been able to. It would have just been like, no, that's just something else to do. But since I like had this free time, I was like, I'm tired of like hustling and grinding all the time. It was like, okay, this will be a change of pace, but I still get to do what I like doing, which is like training and speaking, and I still have my hand in businesses. I'm just not doing them full time. And so that's kind of how I got here. Like, that's how I got here. Both times of me teaching, this same person was like, I just got a job here. You should do it. And I'm like,
and then they quit that job and got a different teaching job?
They were both like short-term contracts.
Oh, okay.
And so for both my colleague and me, they were like short-term contracts, like filling in for for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So we both did it for maybe a year and a half. And then I'm not sure what she did, but because I was already in full-time business, so I was just, my first teaching job in college, it was just to do something different. Yeah. But then this one, I wasn't doing business as much, and I was like, I could use a change of pace. Like, I could focus on something else. And that's how I ended up getting here. And I'm like, oh, these are creative students, even better. Because it's not a traditional setting, which is like, here, take this textbook. I hate that. Like, my brain doesn't think in that. And then I feel like that's not the real world. And so when I got to where we are now, I was just like, this is gold. I wish I had come here. And I drove by it as a teenager, like once it got set up, but I never knew what it was. Like, SCAD. And I think it was actually still just being built when I came. And so when I started driving, being able to drive, and I was like, I don't even know what SCAD is. And I was like, oh, I'm not a creative. Because that's what I said. I'm not a creative. I want to be a nurse. That was never going to happen. But I don't like math. I don't like science. I don't know why I figured I could be a nurse. So that's how I got here.
And you said that it was like gold in the sense that it was fulfilling, or?
Fulfilling in the way of I didn't have to take a textbook and teach from that. Like, I could bring in like my real world experience, personal experience, share some of my opinions and insights. Like, hey, this is what happened to me, so don't go do that stupid crap. You know, like in a traditional setting, you can do that too, but that's not the way they do it. It's all based off theory. And so I feel like in this environment that I'm in now, I get to, it's more real. Yeah, and
you feel like you're, the experience that qualifies for you is actually valuable.
Yes, yeah. Not just textbook.
Yeah.
Like, it might happen. We don't really know. And I've never actually did a film, so I'm just telling you what I think is happening. No, like at this point, I'm not a filmmaker, but if I were, like, I produce films, I wrote films, I've directed, I'm working on 2 films right now. So then when I come in the classroom to teach you, I'm teaching you what I'm doing, not what I think. And I feel like that's what traditional education does.
Yeah. As far as like creative endeavors such as filmmaking or even just like photo shoots, would you suggest that people try it out with other people if they get offered to? Or
yeah, I think you should try anything. Like, I feel like you should try things even if you don't think you're interested in it.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I hated nature. Like, I don't want to go outside. It's hot, it's flies, it's sticky.
I feel like most kids are like that.
But I grew up in the outside era. Maybe that's why, because it was like, no, go outside and play. I don't want to go outside. It's hot. Like, I want to sit inside in the air condition. But then the older I get, I'm like, man, I just want to go outside and just put my feet in the grass. And I keep saying I want to go hiking. My sister was like, you're not going hiking. And I was like, yes, I am. I want to climb a little bit of mountains and wear hike boots. And like, I just want to do something different because I've never done it before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, I remember when I didn't like outside. So trying new things and just getting out there, like from a professional standpoint, you never know what you're going to like. Yeah. Like, students come to school and like, I'm gonna be in sport management. I'm going to be a sports manager. And then they get in there and be like, well, actually,
this is boring as hell.
This is boring. Like, I don't like, this is not a I don't want to do this. I want to be the coach, So I feel like you don't know until you try. So even if like your major is UX design, all right, go hang out with the photographers, go hang out with the advertising people, go hang out with the fashion people, because I feel like you can learn, and there may be aspects of what another industry does that you like.
How would you take a first step into a new industry that you like?
Experimenting. And what I mean by that is reaching out to somebody in that industry and offering to like shadow them or even do some work for them, almost like a internship. Yeah. And even at my with all my experience, I've reached out to somebody. I was like, hey, I think I want to try my hand in radio. Y'all got internships? And she was like, girl, you can't get no internship. Like, and she said, like, do you know who you are? And I'm like, yes, and I've never done radio. Yeah. So I don't know. I had a small internship, but I'm like, on the level that she does it, I'm like, I don't know. I just want to try it out. I want to get on the air one day and see if I can do it, or I want to record a segment. And so that was the conversation. I'm like, I don't care who the world thinks I am. I'm telling you, I have no clue what I'm doing. I just want to see if I can do it. Yeah. And so I just ask people like, hey, can I shadow you? Can I try? Can I come sit in while you work and just watch you work? And most people say yes.
Do you suggest that over like a regular internship?
Yes and no. Because like just shadowing somebody can turn into an internship. And then with the internships, like typically you're locked in for a certain amount of time. Yeah. I think you should do the shadow thing before you do the internship. Because what if you end up getting an internship you hate? Yeah. You don't want to quit it because then it makes you look bad. But
so shadow to make sure it's something that you're interested in?
Yeah, at least remotely interested in it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like what if you like jewelry? Like you like wearing flashy jewelry and like you know, I want to be a jeweler. I want to make jewelry. And then you go to Diamonds Direct or something and shadow the sales floor person around, and you're just like, what do y'all do? Like, this is it? Like, just talking to people? Like, because it's a boring job until somebody walks in, then you got to turn on. So I feel like you could shadow people. Definitely get internships, do the job part-time, but I feel like shadowing, it's no commitment. It's just, I'm coming to watch you. If you throw me in, I'll do something, but if not, at least I'm just absorbing what's happening.
Yeah. I'm really good at, like, processing and connecting new information to stuff I already know. Because that's just making me think, people like suggesting for other people to read books. Yeah. And just learning in different ways. That's a new way of learning that I haven't really thought about.
Absolutely. Yeah, like hands-on. And I love books. I love listening to lectures. This is not your interview, it's mine. I love books. I love listening to lectures, but some...
Lectures as in, like, colleges?
Yeah, like colleges. I'll listen to YouTube, TED Talks, like when I'm in those moods. But then sometimes I'm like, well, if to absorb it, I need to do this. Like, I need to put my hands to it. Or I need to be, like, in the middle of it. Just to see, like, what's the energy of like, with the people, like, how they feeling, how they talking to each other. And I like people watching. Like, I used to, before pandemic, I would go to the mall, and I'm one of them creepers. I would just, like, post up and just, like, watch people. Like, get some pretzels and a Coke and just sit there and be like, and I'll just walk, or sometimes, or I just sit there and watch. I'm like, people are so interesting. But you learn so much, like, by not knowing what people are talking about or what they're like, just watching their facial expressions. And I mean, you hear arguments, people be arguing, and I'm just like, they're really doing this in public, you know? So
they're arguing over, like, what they want for lunch. It's way too hard.
Right. It's
for
like,
no reason.
Just eat. But I like doing that because sometimes I feel like you learn by osmosis. Like, you just absorb things just by watching. Yeah. You never have to say anything to me. I'm just going to watch you, and I'm going to get what I need from the situation.
But obviously you can't do everything with just watching. No. So I guess this kind of would interconnect everything. If you learn something, if you learn something that you think you might be interested in, you should reach out to somebody and make sure you're interested in it, and then try to get, like, an internship.
Or you could just take note of the fact that you liked it.
Okay.
Like, maybe you don't take action on, because what if you realize you like 12 different things? You literally can't get 12 different internships. Yeah. But you can say, okay, I like working at the radio station that day. Okay, let me think about what did I actually like. Did I like being on the microphone? Did I like taking in callers? Did I like operating the switchboard? Did I like interacting with the talent? Like, find out what you actually like about it, because that's what you want to, like, look for the internship in. Is it the marketing side of it? Do you like just making commercials for the radio that people are going to listen to? It's like, so because it's so many different nuances and things, I say look more so for the thing that interests you about the thing you're thinking about. Like, what draws you in? Like, I like reading or listening to people's biographies, because if they're a good storyteller, I can see it playing out with them in my head. And so I'm, like, putting myself in it. If I can't put myself in it, I don't connect with it. Like, I'll turn the book off. I'm like, no, this is stupid. Like, and it may be a good book, but I just can't see myself in it. So I feel like that's how I approach getting internships and jobs. Like, can I see myself doing this?
How did you see yourself doing communications?
Writing. I wanted to be a New York Times bestselling author, and I wanted to write novels. First of all, I don't even like writing that much. So I like writing just because. I don't like writing anymore for a reason. But what I have a bad habit of doing is turning every hobby into a money-making thing. So now I write for money, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to write. And so I like writing, the writing part about communications. And then once I realized I was writing and more I started speaking publicly, I'm like, oh, I like speaking publicly. More than that, I like answering questions on the spot. Like, don't give me, if I'm doing interviews, I'm like, no, don't send me the questions. I don't want to know what you're going to ask me, because then I'll start thinking about it. And I won't give you, like, the best answer. But if you ask me on the fly, all my good stuff comes out. So the part of communications I like more than anything is storytelling and, like, persuasion. Changing people's minds about something.
How do you suggest people go about changing somebody's mind on something if they're really...
Show them a different perspective. Okay. Perspective is everything. Because we only know what we know. Like, I've only lived my life. I haven't lived yours. Yeah. So if you tell me hey, well, I see it this way. And I say, well, why? Like, how did you get to that conclusion? Then you tell me, I can go, okay, well, I can see that. So it's not just my way. It's my way and your way. So I feel like when we're able to give someone else a perspective that they did not live or they didn't experience, it helps them understand more. That's the biggest thing with communications. That's all we're doing is persuading people and giving people a different perspective in a lot of ways.
I want every project in there to be me trying to change people's mind about something.
I love it. No, because that's persuasive speaking. Like that's we get paid the big bucks to change people's minds. That's all motivational speakers are doing.
Oh yeah.
That's it. You're just changing people's mind and getting paid to do it. Like it's. I almost say it's the easiest thing, but it's not easy if it doesn't come natural. But for me, this is what I do. It was so funny. My mom used to always be like, can you please just give me 5 minutes of silence? Like, no talking. And I'm like, Mama, one day I'm going to get paid to talk. And I literally get paid to talk. And we laugh all the time because everything I do, I'm always speaking. And I was like, see, especially when I let her quit her job to come work for my company, I was like, was it worth it? She was like, hell no. Like, you drove me crazy with all that talking. I was like, but now I get paid to do it. So don't tell me to be quiet. That's why I'm telling you to be quiet.
There's something I want to talk about, but it's more personal.
Let's do it.
Okay. Initially, when I said, is there any fear you're running away from that fuels you? I had a couple bullet points under that. I don't know. It was something like, if you had more, like, trauma, per se, do you think that would have fueled you more or hurt you?
I often think about that. And let me tell you something. That is something that I used to, when I would hear other people like tell their stories and they had like these insane stuff, I'm like, dang, I ain't got that. Like, you know, is my stuff still valuable? Because like, I was good, you know, like I didn't start having trauma per se until I got on my own. Like, left college and then it was like, oh, I'm grown, let me make all my decisions. Like, went and got eloped, got married to somebody I only knew for like a couple months. Like, that's when my stuff started. But like growing up, we were good. So when I hear people say stuff, it actually makes me be like, shoot, I had like a silver spoon. Like, you know, like it feels like my stuff is inadequate, but I'm like, no, this was my experience, you know? And so for me, I don't think if I had struggled more, it would have changed anything. Because when I see people struggle, I automatically be like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, most things that make you grow, you don't want to do.
Yeah, like.
But it's worth the cost sometimes. Yeah.
But if like I know somebody's traumatic story and that's not mine, like I'll listen to, especially if it's something that they did to like addiction, for example. Like listen to Matthew Perry's book. Like any of us could be addicted to something at some point. All you gotta do is, you know, get a drug laced with something and you don't know. Now you're addicted. But just listening to how he was like telling his story, I'm like, dang, it really wasn't his fault. Like they started giving him drugs at 7 weeks old. Like I can't. He's 4 months. My baby's 4 months, and I'm like, at 7 weeks you already giving opioids, but then different time and all of that. But I'm like, he was already been like primed to have an addiction. So dying at 53, 54, I'm like, he lived longer than he probably should have. You know. So there's no, like, I don't feel like I should have struggled more because the struggles that I had, to me, they were like big. Like they were big to me. But then I hear other people's stuff and I'm like, never mind. I don't even want to tell my story. Dang, like you're a strong person. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Recently, whenever I hear somebody else talk about like a bad experience they had, I think it's something that's like probably the same emotional weight to me, but it's way less severe. Like one of my roommates was saying, last night I was like depressed. I was up until like 3 a.m. and I was like just talking to him, and I was, and then I said this because I knew he'd think it was funny. I was like, this doesn't really compare, but last night I was scrolling through Instagram for like an hour, and that's awful for me. So I'm going through something too.
He was like,
nah, he like started dying laughing because he knows that that's like something that.
But it's a real answer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's that. So I feel like smart people can hear that and laugh. Like, my big is like your. Like your big is like my minuscule, like, but my big to you is just like, you can't even really fathom all of that. And so for me, like going back to your question, that was one of my goals of business. I wanted to take, my mom is a creative. She actually was going to school to be a brain surgeon when she actually had me. So like she's super smart. She's a scientist. She never finished though. She ended up going to cosmetology school when I was in undergrad. But at this time, when I moved back, she was like working at a factory job, like assembly line. And I'm like, dude, you are too smart for this. Like I have to work because I have to show you what it's like to live on this other side. Like kind of making your own schedule, having this freedom. So like I took her out the country for the first time. She got her first massage for the first time. I think she'd been on a plane before. That wasn't the first, but like with her traveling with me to LA and Mexico and Vegas, like going all these places, like working with me, I could, like, her brain was opened up, and I felt like bits and pieces of her that probably were before she had 3 kids and had to work and provide. I feel like that started to come back, even though I don't know because I wasn't there. But even now, you'll hear her talk, and it's completely different. And I'm like, that's what I wanted, because I'm like, dude, you should not be in an assembly line job putting together a John Deere pile driver. So I'm like, you should be creating something. And so now she'll get her own clients, like helping them with operations and administration stuff. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. Because I'm like, you are too, like, it's not necessarily, I did want to retire her too, but I'm like, nah, you still capable of working, so I'm going to hire you. I ain't retiring you. Nah, you ain't about to do that. But it was like, that was a part of my fuel. Like, I don't want, if I'm living good, if I'm living well, I don't want to see my mom working there.
No,
like, nah,
for sure.
That's bullcrap. Like,
she raised you and took care of you for
and took care of me
so long.
Yeah, we got to get you out of there. And so now she's like, I ain't never getting a regular job ever again.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. Like, I wanted her to see, like, there's another way. You don't have to just work. And then by this time, of course, she's not providing for us, but I mean, if I called her right now and I'm like, hey, Mom, I need $500, if for whatever reason, she'll give it if she has it. Like, and that's how she is. So for me, I'm like, I gotta show you what life is like over here. And so when she left that job, like I was like, hey, I need you to start in like 2 weeks, so go ahead and put in your notice. And the first time, I don't think she believed me, because you know, if your family doesn't know exactly what you do, they assume like you just over there playing. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm doing really well. Like, I have this client. Like, y'all see me traveling. Like, I can't be just doing this. Yeah. And so the first time, she's like, all right, I'm gonna put my notice in at the end of summer. She didn't put it in, and I'm like, hey, the company is growing. I really need you to do this admin stuff. Like, let's go. Like, I'm gonna start. When do I need to have my payroll person go ahead and start? Like, I'll go ahead and give you your pay up front. And she was just like, I'll put my notice in tomorrow. And she finally put it in, and I'm like, so I gave her a week of doing nothing. Like, hey, don't do it. Just take a week to just sleep. Do whatever you want to do. Yeah. But that was a goal of mine. And now I want to do that for my sisters. Like I said, my baby sister, she's like, nope, no entrepreneurship. I'll work for you, but I don't want to start nothing. My older sister's like, you know, I can do my own thing, but if I can just get a paycheck from you, why not? So my next thing is I want to build again so that I can like show them, because they watch and they're like, dang, I want to be able to go and be and do.
Is that why you like teaching too? Because you can show people.
Yes, I can show my students like, look, you can go out here and get a job, but you can also build it yourself and work from where you want to work. If you decide, hey, I want to go live in Thailand for 2 years and be a nomad and do graphic design, go live in Thailand for 2 years, do graphic design. Your money will go further there than it will here. Oh yeah, so for sure. That's another reason why I like teaching, because I'm like, there's another perspective that you don't get from traditional school. Because traditional school is mostly, unless it's an entrepreneurship program, it is training you to get a job. Yeah. Training you to get a job, to be a sheeple, to work in a box. I don't want people to do that. Like, I mean, it's good, you know, if you get a job, but
and it's actually helpful to people who want to start their own businesses, because they need people to work for them.
Yeah, I feel like you need that perspective, but I'm like, as long as you know you have options. Like, I don't want any of my students to like get a job and be like, oh, I gotta work this job for 10 years. I hate this job. Like, no. You don't know how much time you have. Like, you need to enjoy it. Of course, every day is not going to be like rainbows and Skittles, but at least you can do something that you like, so that when life does happen, like, it doesn't suck all the way around. Like, I just lost, for instance, not me, but well, in December, I lost somebody close to me. In January, a cousin got killed, shot in the head. Just 2 days this week, One cousin got shot over the weekend. Someone shot up his grandmother's home. The bullet missed his heart by millimeters. 2 days later, another cousin gets hit in the head-on collision, but is able to walk away. Like, car ripped to shreds. So every time something like that happens, I'm just like, I gotta do more. Like, what about my time? So it's not me, but when things happen, it just reminds me, like,
life is short.
Life is so short, and I don't know how much time I have. So I'm on like a mad dash to like cram as much stuff as I can and get as many experiences, so that when he's not as little, because I'm like, we ain't doing traveling right now, he's little. Once he gets probably like 1, all right, it's time for your first international trip. Because I didn't take mine until I was 25. My daughter took hers at 8. So I'm like, he can do his at 1. That's improvement.
Was your first international trip on your own?
Yep, it was on my own. I went with a group of people. I think my first international, it was to South Africa. It was a missions trip.
Oh.
Yes, it was a missions trip. I'm in the middle of freaking nowhere in South Africa, and we did a lot of church, a lot of like arts and crafts activities. I was like, this is exhausting, but it was fun because I was able to see another way of life. And I remember asking some of the kids, I was like, what do you want for Christmas? Like, what's on your Christmas list? And a lot of them said rice. And I'm like, rice? Like,
they don't get that.
But they were like, yeah, because when you eat rice, you stay full longer. And I'm like, dang, like, oh my, like, it just tore me up because I'm just like, I'm thinking dolls, PlayStation. They were like, no, you stay fuller longer when you have rice. So I want a big bag of rice. And I'm like, man, we are spoiled, like, so it opened up my eyes to like, dude, you've had it good like your whole life. They want rice for Christmas because it helps them stay full. Meanwhile, you're like, I can go to the store and get whatever I want, It was wild. It was wild.
That's so cool.
It was wild.
It's like knowing Americans and American culture, kids so spoiled. They're upset when they don't get, I don't know, Legos.
And they go somewhere where there's no Wi-Fi. It's like, there's no Wi-Fi?
Yeah. What do I do?
Yeah, like spazzing out. Like my nephews are with their dad, and they live in like a rural area. And so they just have a little bit of Wi-Fi, just enough to say they have it, but they don't game or anything. His dad, their grandfather. And so my nephews, they're 6, and then Aiden is 13. They're like, why'd you send us here? Like, there's no Wi-Fi. I can't game. I can't watch. The little boy's like, I can't watch my tablet. I can't watch the phone. And I'm like, go outside and play.
That's why you're there.
But they're like spazzing out. And so going back to like that Africa thing, I'm just like, how do I not create entitled kids? Because my children are spoiled. Like,
how are you going to deal with them and like introducing them to the internet?
So my daughter, of course, she's being 14. It's already too late.
Yeah.
My family bought her first iPad. I refused. I was like, nope, not doing it. Now, since he's been hanging out with my mom at 4 months, now he can recognize the phone. So like when my phones are sitting, he's just like, I'm like, no, don't look at it. So for him, I know I'm going to limit it a whole lot more. And I used to limit it with my daughter, like only on weekends. Then I got lax. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Just go. But for him, I'm like, no. I got to keep your brain fresh, and it's not going to be rotted with technology. But he's already starting. He's like, my mom was like, he likes watching his shows. Why does a 4-month-old have shows?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, all humans like that because it's stimulating, but it doesn't mean it's good for them.
Right. Like, no.
And he probably likes other things that are good for him. But
like he like playing peekaboo. Like he likes saying hi over and over again. So I'm like, no, I don't want him to be consumed like my nephews.
Yeah.
Which God love them. I'm like, they are little maniacs jumping off the wall. So the electronics slows them down.
That's how I was.
Right. But I'm like, no, let's try. If we get in front of it and not exposed, then we don't have to worry about them not being able to sit still because they don't have an electronic. Like, we had to sit still when I was growing up just because, like, hey, it's church, you better listen.
Yeah.
Can't go to sleep. But them, it's like, well, let me give them the phone so they can be quiet. And I'm like, I didn't get that. Like, we had to sit here and get tortured. They don't get tortured. So those things I think about a lot.
Have you seen those kids, like, they'll scroll on their phone while they're asleep?
Yeah.
Like, not even phone,
that,
just like...
I feel like my nephew's like that. He'll fall asleep, like, with his headphones on, with the phone, like, right here. And I'm like, come on, dude.
How do you plan on introducing your kids to business?
So my daughter, she got to watch me build from nothing. So she would always see me on my laptop, and she would see me doing lives and stuff like that. And she would always be like, yeah, I'm about to go help my mama do her business. Like, I was selling Mary Kay and Herbalife, so I would like bring her with me.
Yeah.
Like, now she's just not interested. Like, when I get, and maybe because when you're little, you're like, oh, what's mama doing? I want to go. I want to sit in on the meetings. And so now I'm like, hey, I'm about to go to school and do this with one of my students. You want to go? Nah, I'll see you when you get back. And I'm like, it's going to be fun. She's like, whatever. So I think just allowing them to see me work, and then when I can like involve them, put them in. So when I did some events, she was maybe 10 or so, but like I had her stuffing bags for the guests, or like checking people in, ask them their name, find their name, highlighting it. You know, little stuff that a 10-year-old could do.
Yeah.
Just to show her, like, get her active. But I'm like, shoot. When she was little, it was all like, yeah, I'm going to own your company. I'm just going to own your company when I get older. Now it's like, no, I want my own thing. Like, I want to do fashion marketing. I'm like, what happened to graphic design? Well, I mean, I do that too. I'm like, fine. So just letting them watch me and see what they're interested in. And just, you know, of course, always pushing them like, you know, you can do your own thing. Like, give me a business plan. I'll fund it.
Do you think that takes... So I have a friend that's a business owner as well. Mm-hmm. She's a mother and a business owner. So the weight of like being a mother and also a business owner were two different things. Do you feel like that kind of merges them and lessens it as a whole?
Yeah. You don't quit things as faster when you're a parent, because it's like, my kid's watching. I don't want to be the quitter. Mm-hmm. But the other side of that is like finding balance. Because like, you know, my daughter's 14 now. He's 4 months. That's a big gap. Yeah. In 4 years, she's going to college. In 5 years, he's going to kindergarten. So my brain is like, I'm in my generation trying to pay attention to her generation, where I think is Gen Z. And I don't even know what he is. Like, you know, so I'm like, this is, how do you balance it? And I think for her, like, I remember a lot of times her, like, wanting to get my attention. Like, I'm trying to build a business and not be broke. And she just wanted to play Tea Party. And I'm like, I can't play Tea Party.
I gotta bring in money.
Yeah, like, and I would tell her, like, do you like being able to watch your iPad and watch TV and have Wi-Fi? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, if you want to keep doing that, you have to let me do this. So let me finish this, and then we'll go get ice cream. Yeah. She'll let me finish, and we'll go. So if I tell her I'm going to do something, I do it. Yeah. And so that's kind of how it goes. I'm going to do the same thing with him, too. Like, it's like a this for, or that type thing. Like, if we want to play a Tea Party, I'll stop right now. But just know, when you want to go get ice cream 6 days from now, I didn't make the money to go get ice cream. And so I feel like that's a business lesson within itself. Like, you got to choose what you do based off the reward you want.
What'd you do with your business when you had him?
I still do them. I'm just more in the consulting role. Actually, having him in January, he was born in November 29th. I actually picked up more clients in January. Like 3 more clients, because I'm like, all right, got to start another fund for him. So now I got to do a little bit more work. And so even with that, now I just have to like prioritize my time even more. Because then I wasn't teaching. Yep. But then come March, now I'm teaching again, and I picked up these clients, and I have him. So I'm like, oh, I don't know what I was thinking about. Like, I'm going to have to be superwoman. But it's just compartmentalizing. Like, when we leave here, I'm like, all right, we can go home, wash my face. We're going to sit down and hang out. If he closes his eyes and goes to sleep, I'm going to sleep. And then once he wakes up, all right, we're going to go sit at the computer for a minute, do some grading, give some feedback. Like, I really have to plan my day around his schedule. Are you okay in what I'm saying? Because you're going to be all over the recording talking about, like, and so I have to do it that way. Like, it requires a lot more planning than, because I mean, with my 14-year-old, she take care of herself. Like, she goes. But with him, I'm like, I can't just get up and go. Like, I got to pack a bag and all this stuff.
Is there anything that you did to do to prepare for having him besides not working, not teaching last quarter?
There's stuff I should have done besides shopping. No. Like, I just did a lot of shopping.
What are things that you should have done then?
I feel like started certain like savings plans, started a college fund, like all the big responsible stuff. Like I feel like I should have picked up more clients then before he was born, as opposed to waiting till he was here. But I didn't feel like it. Like I didn't want to, and I was like, okay, now he's here, and I want to now. Like I didn't have the. I don't want to say I was unmotivated. I was just tired as crap.
Yeah.
Like, you like eating.
I mean,
you know, like I just didn't.
you were raising a kid.
Yeah, I was like, I don't
so.
feel like it. But then once he came, and I was like, okay, now we have a little flow. All right, now let me do the thing. So let me set up the insurance policies. Let me set up the savings account. Like, now I can do those things. And I feel like in general, like before anybody like, you know, make any major decisions, whether that's like after undergrad, going to grad school or moving to a new city, like do some investigation. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I literally was reading articles about like, okay, having children with a big age gap, what are some challenges am I gonna could I run into? And I was like, okay, so having to balance generations, being able to communicate to both. And I'm like, well, I'm a communicator, not worried about that. Schedule changing, the older child feeling like the younger child is taking up all the attention and time, so make sure you are checking in with the older kids. So it's just certain stuff that I was like worried about that now I'm like,
You figured it out.
yeah, I'm like, it's not that bad, but I was worried. Like, I was reading articles, like, what happens when you get super sleep deprived? Like, because right now I kind of sleep when I want to. Well, before. And then he comes and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, dude, this is dangerous how sleepy I was. Because he was up like every hour, so I wasn't getting any sleep for like days. And I'm like, wait, let me go back to that article. How do I combat this? Like, how do I get him to sleep longer, or what do I need to eat so that I have some natural energy? So, like, just stuff like that. If you're planning anything major, like somebody, if they got engaged, they know they're planning a wedding.
Yeah.
Well, before you start planning a wedding, you got to set a budget. So if you know one day you want to get married, why not start 10 years earlier? Let me do my wedding day fund, just in case, especially if you're extravagant. Most people don't plan that far out, but I feel like it takes the stress off when you do.
Yeah, it's, I have it in here, but it's something similar to the heaviest things in life aren't like gold and silver, but unmade decisions.
I agree. Yeah.
And I just sat and looked at that, and I was like, dang.
Decision fatigue. Like, you know how many decisions
that's why I started
made?
scheduling.
Yeah, like, if it's scheduled, then you know if it's not on here, I don't have to commit to it, you know? And I do that too. Like, I tell people, like, hey, let's go for lunch. All right, let's pick a day and a time, and let's do a calendar invite. That's the only way I know it's going to happen. Because if you just are like, well, no, when you get some free time, no such thing.
Yeah.
Or people just calling unscheduled. Like, my friends are like, I know you saw me calling you. Yeah, and I watched the phone ring because that call was not scheduled. You can't just schedule all your friend calls. No, yes, you can. If you know that now I'm teaching again Monday through Thursday, you can't call Thursday at noon and be like, let's talk. I'm literally standing in front of 32 kids, you know, talking. So I feel like planning is really important. And no matter what, but especially when you're like adding on more things. So adding on another class, adding on a baby, you know, getting engaged, getting married, planning to travel. Like, you got to plan that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And learning the customs. Like, if you're traveling, let's just say I am planning on going to Dubai. That may be his first trip. I'm going to Dubai, but I know that that's like a Muslim country and they have different customs. So I'm already looking at, okay, I can't wear my tank tops in public. I need to be covered up. And if I want to go to a temple, I got to cover my head. And, oh, they don't do PDAs, even though I have nobody to do PDAs with. It's just like, you know, certain things, like, I just want to know ahead of time. So when I get there, I'm not trying to figure it out. Like, I get there and offend people. Like, I don't want to do that.
My dad doesn't prepare like that.
Huh?
My dad doesn't prepare like that.
It really?
No.
Like, you got, like...
Or he tries, but he doesn't, like... He'll read it and be like, oh, okay, and then that's the end of that.
Yeah, like, certain places I do, like, I was only at the Chinese, like, airport. Anywhere that I've learned that, hey, they have different customs, like, in doing things in public, I try to be, like, way ahead of them. Other than that, I just figure it out.
Going back to scheduling phone calls and stuff like that, what started you to schedule smaller things like that? Realizing
how much time they took up. I would be in the middle of working, and then a friend would call. 3 hours later, I'm like, crap, this is due at 8 o'clock. Now it's 5. When they called, it was, it was 2. And so that would happen like so much every single day. And I'm like, I'm not getting anything done. If I answered every call that came into my phone, whether it's friends calling or business, I literally would do nothing. So even now, my business phone is on Do Not Disturb.
You have 2 phones.
Yeah. This is the personal. So this is the
that.
one, like, when my mom, my sisters, my great aunt, they
family.
have, like, very close family. My whole family does not have this one. They got the regular one. So this is, like, the emergency line. Gotcha. So this doesn't go on Do Not Disturb. I never turn it off. But this one over here, nah. Like, Do not disturb my life.
Are there any other small things you feel like take up way more time than people realize that they should be
Scrolling
conscious
on
of?
social takes
Yeah.
up a lot of time. Sometimes it's daydreaming. I daydream a lot.
Same.
And I'll look up and be like, crap, that was 2 hours. But in my head, I'm like in it. So I don't, but daydreaming can take up time. Of course, scrolling, answering phone calls, responding to text messages, business owners, answering emails. Like, you'll look up and start your day answering your emails, and 3 hours later, you're still answering emails. Like, no, you have to like be able to jump around. And so, yeah, small things like that take up time. Like, not saying you shouldn't talk on the phone and do all. You can, but you can't do it every day.
Yeah.
So normally on a Friday, I'd actually take the phone. I'll do not disturb. So I'm like, all right, it's my free day. But I'm like, no, I actually had stuff scheduled today.
Yeah.
So today is a work day. So it's still going to, it'll probably be on do not disturb all weekend. Why not? Ain't nobody dying. I mean, if they are, they know to call twice and it'll come through.
Yeah.
If not, it is what it is. Hey.
I need to work on like flow of conversation, keeping it going.
Really, if you just hear one thing and then ask a question from what you heard.
Yeah.
Sometimes, when
That's what I've been doing occasionally, but sometimes it goes down paths that aren't like
it can
helpful to people. Which I want whatever I'm doing to
Yeah.
actually be educating people and informative
Mm-hmm.
to where it's something useful for people. And so sometimes if people go on tangents about like what McDonald's sandwich they like, that's not helpful.
Okay, I
But-
agree. Like, yeah, I really like blue, and it's a certain shade of blue. No, I get you on that. Like,
Yeah.
I understand.
Like, I don't want to ask a question into that and keep going down a tangent. That's not.
You gotta be able to bring it back.
Yeah.
Be able to bring it back.
Is there any way that you've learned through being a communicator that helps with that?
What saying now back to my point, like that's what I was saying. Like now back to the original question.
Okay.
Like literally take them back. Like, yeah, that was good, so interesting, and we might have time to come back to that, but let me go back to this.
Yeah.
Because you said something interesting and then take them back to that moment. They'll go, oh. Like, you got to literally, like, snatch people back. Because, again, people like talking about themselves. They like getting things out of their brains. And so you may, what if, like, their best childhood memory was, like, licking a snow cone on a hot summer day? And then you say something about a McFlurry. And then, it's like, yeah, because when I was little, I loved ice cream. And I would do this, and I would go down to my grandma's. You're like, what? But you took them there, so you have to be able to bring them back.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, back to the original
So
question.
just lead the conversation.
Yeah, just lead it,
pull
drive
back
it. You
if
drive
need
it
to.
and pull it back.
Yeah.
No swing.
How has becoming successful affected your mental state? And
Made me crazy. I would say it's made me more self-aware. It's made me way more self-aware, like of knowing like what I like, what I don't like, who I am, who I'm not, which is stuff I never thought about before business.
What
It's
do you-
like just be who I am.
what do you think that is?
Because I said this in class, like if you don't tell people who you are, they will tell you who they want you to be. In this society, because we have like social media and stuff, you see all these people doing all these things, and then you're like, well, I want to do that, and then you adapt that personality. Like that's not you. Like I'm a chill person. If you get me unchill, there's a problem. So my biggest thing is like being aware of self, to know like, all right, if I'm behaving in this way, this is not a good friendship. This is not a good situation. This is not a good work relationship. So it's made me way self-aware again, because being a communicator, my biggest premise is making or helping people to understand. So that means I need to first understand myself.
Yeah.
Like understand me so that I can understand you. I think what gets in the way of the communication, people don't know who they are. And they get offended when you know who you are. And it's like, well, how are you so sure? Because I know me. But I think a lot of offense comes from like they just wish they could also be sure. So knowing me helps me be able to better understand you and anybody else that I talk to.
That's honestly really eye-opening.
Yeah.
Like, because it's
Good.
self-awareness. You don't typically think of that as who you should have around you.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you've used that to guide yourself through situations of just who should I have around me.
Yeah, like what are our conversations like? Are we talking about other people? And I feel like when people say gossip, I say my definition of gossip is talking about things that I do not influence and I'm not influenced by it. So if it has nothing to do with me, I'm like, I can't talk about that because I didn't make that decision and that decision doesn't impact me. So let Sally Sue do whatever she's doing. What are we going to do? Like, what are we going to do to not become Sally Sue? Or what can we do to help Sally Sue? I like those questions more than, well, did you hear about it? I'm like, yeah, and what do we want to do to help? And typically when you ask somebody that, it takes away like the messiness. Like, oh, well, shoot, I want to just talk. You want to do solutions. Like, as a communicator, I like to get to the bottom line. So, and that's something I had to learn about myself. Like, I would get agitated with gossip. And then there were situations where I found myself being the gossiper, and I'm like, how did I get here? And then I would look at the people around me like, oh, you have too much free time. So all you can do is gossip. I can't talk to you. You know, like, just knowing that and paying attention to like who I become when I'm around certain people. Do I stay in my intelligence space, or do I start dumbing myself down, or do I start like not talking about like all the good stuff that's happening in my life because they're like down in the dumps? Like, well, I don't want to impact them. Like, they're having a tough time. What's that got to do with me? Like, you know, like that's happened with parenting on social media. I'm in some parenting groups. And people have been like, well, you know, remember other people aren't able to do it in this way, so you shouldn't keep just posting about all the great things you're able to do because everybody's not able to do it. But I'm like, they're not talking to me, they're talking to other people. But I'm just like, so you should not enjoy life because everybody can't? Like, somebody else is going to identify with your happiness. If you don't identify, just keep scrolling. But that's not the society we live in. Like, we have to comment.
People get offended on everything. So
I think learning yourself and knowing how you respond to things, like, that will help you so much with learning other people per se.
Have you taken notes on yourself or anything like that?
Have I taken notes? I make mental notes.
Okay.
I do make mental notes, and most of the time I remember them.
Okay.
I'll go, like, especially if I can pair it to a person. That's my note. Like, hey, when I'm around this person, I realize I don't talk about my successes much because they're always talking about how unsuccessful they are, and I don't want to make them feel small. Well, so I don't want to be around them. I don't be around them. Like, I stop. Like, you know, but once I'm aware of it, I make a change. Okay. Depending on who it is, I may say something, but most of the time, I will tend to like make a change. Like, I don't really like how I feel when I'm around this person, so let me limit this. And it's rare for me that it's a family member because my family is so dang on supportive of like everything. Yeah. I don't know what it's like to have a family that's not supportive. So a lot of times when I'm talking to people who don't understand, like, I'll be like, okay, mental note. Your family's not supportive. You don't get it. You think it's weird. Let me not talk to you, you know? Because you don't know, also, I don't know what I'm triggering either. When I tell somebody like, oh yeah, my first business, I called my mom, I was like, hey, I need $1,500 to buy all this Mary Kay inventory to sell. And she gave it to me. Like, my mama never did that for me. Well, did your mom have it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if your mom didn't have it, you can't get mad. It just so happened that my mama had it, you know?
Do you think that keeping relationships with people like that could be beneficial or just like educational?
Sometimes I feel like you need the little negative Nancy's around to remind you not to be that. Because I feel like you do need a variety of people around you. Yeah. Because I can learn from anybody and anything. Like, I've learned some lessons from crackheads before. Like, believe it or not. And they say like some of the most deepest, profound stuff. But most people would dismiss it as like, oh, they're on drugs. They're still a human with an experience. Yeah.
All they have to do is think.
That's all, right? And so I think like I don't dismiss a lot of people as quickly as I used to. Because when I was in my 20s, like, oh, I didn't like how I feel around you. I'm never talking to you again, and not even telling you why. I'm gonna stop answering the phone. Like, I don't want to deal with them. But now I'm like, wait, how can I help this person? And how can I do it in a way that doesn't like hurt them or make them worse, but like help them just see like, hey, you really negative.
Is that do you think that's changed because you're in a place where you have the time to do that?
I think I'm in a place where I have the awareness.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think I didn't always have this awareness that I have today. I was just like, I used to be like, this is who I am. Take it. is it who I am? Or is it what I've watched people be in my family over time? Like these strong personalities who nothing bothers you. Like, no, stuff actually does bother me. I can't just shrug everything off like I see some family members do. So I wasn't aware. And now that I'm aware, I make time to like address these things and to explain.
So when you said negative Nancy's, there was something that I had previously thought about that came back to me and then I forgot it. So going back to like homeless people, a lot of the things that they say people neglect. Yeah. But you realize that it's stuff that is actually like meaningful and deep, but it's really just people's neglected thoughts. I saw this. Do you know Alain de Botton?
I don't think so.
It's this guy who owns, I think it's this business called the School of Life, and they write books and stuff.
I've heard of School of Life.
Okay. Well, he runs that, and a quote that he said is, "In geniuses, you find your own neglected thoughts."
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
But it's kind of strange because homeless people also have those same neglected
people
thoughts.
With mental like severe mental illnesses, addictions. Like if you just, I feel like again, you just got to be open to learn from anybody. Like you gotta like almost like ignore what you see so that you can hear what you need to hear. Like it's like, you know, they say, don't worry about the messenger, listen for the message. That's what I like to do. Because I like I said, this one guy, he was on drugs. He was a crackhead in a small city that my family is from. But his quote, his life quote was one love, like the Rastafari, like one love. So he was saying, hey, one love. And then he was like, yeah, because if you got more than one love, you got too many. And of course, as a kid, I'm like laughing, like he's crazy. And then I got older and was like, no, like you saying you in love with two people, no, something's not right there. Like, so it was just so funny because that was his thing. He was like, one love, everybody, one love. He's since passed away. But like, he was like the neighborhood, you know, crackhead. But you have a conversation with him, he would get very lucid and be like, yeah, because when I was growing up, it was like a switch would flip. And you like, dang, like, where did all that just come from? And then he goes back into his mode. So it's like, I feel like it's a genius in everybody. You just got to know how to pull it out and be okay when it comes out. Like, yeah. Is
there anything else that listening for the message instead of paying attention to the messenger? Like, is there any messages you've heard from people that other people wouldn't have listened to that have really influenced you?
Besides his message of one love. What are some things that I've heard so much. Man, I've heard so much over the years. I'm like, that's a very good question. Probably the first one I'm like, I don't have an answer because I've heard so much. I would say if I could like summarize, it's like, hey, everybody has an experience that you can learn from. Like, don't assume like I'm in my mid 30s. Don't assume that if I talk to a 12-year-old because I'm 35 and they're 12, I can't learn. Yeah. Or a lot of my friends are older than me by decades. And they're like, oh my gosh, you have so much wisdom. And I'm like, well, no, I'm coming to you because you have 2 decades on me. I need your help. Like, I don't want to help you, but it's just one of those things. And so I think like listening for the messages and not worry about the message, like to summarize that for me, my sum of like all of hearing all these different messages is like, you can learn from anybody and anything when you have an open mind. And I do approach life with an open mind. Like, hey, I can learn from anybody. I'll try everything once except crack. Like I'm not doing it. Like I'm just not. Like some stuff I don't have to learn. I saw. So but I'm like, I'll try anything once. I'll try food, I try experiences. And because I'm open minded, I don't prefer to be around people. I can't say I don't prefer to be around people who've never tried stuff and they're automatic, oh, I don't like caviar. All right, well, have you had it? No, I've never had it. I'm like, but what makes you think you don't like it? Well, it's fish eggs. But have you tried it? Like, try it to then say, I don't like it, as opposed to the idea of it. Like, you say, well, I don't like the idea of caviar. It's 2 different things.
Yeah. As I've, like, grown up, I thought that was, like, just a kid thing for people to say they didn't like stuff, but adults do it, too.
Yes. And my aunt used to always correct us because we would eat something, like livers or something. Like, I don't like livers. It's nasty. She's like, it's not nasty. It just doesn't taste good to you.
Mm.
So she would correct our language, and it used to be so annoying. But as an adult, I'm like, that's true.
Yeah.
It's not nasty. It just doesn't taste good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, communication, little things like that. It's stuff that I've been able to like shift my perspective with.
Yeah. It reminds me. I'm reading Ego's Enemy as I talked to you before. It says everybody's like a master of their own experience.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, meaning they or an expert. It says everybody is an expert of their own experience because they know everything that's happened in their life, and almost everybody, their thoughts are, if you go like down to how they created that like thought or opinion, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But nobody accepts that,
right.
or most people don't, which I've been like starting to ask people why they think certain things instead of just getting mad at them. Because you can, some people now choose to get mad at something instead of figuring out.
I'm a why
what
asker too.
Yeah.
Like, well, why do you feel that way? Even from topics like racism and sexism, I ask questions like, I'm like, you have to understand, and a lot of times you'll find, well, that's just the way I was raised, you know, and I haven't made the time to learn differently. So this is how I feel. Oh, okay, well, you know, whatever.
Creating their opinions off of people around them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, not experiencing it for
yeah.
themselves. You have to. I'm like, if everybody behaved in that way of just like learning through other people, the world would stop. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't, if you had like, oh, I don't like him because, you know, he was a bad friend to me. But what if he's an excellent friend to me? Like, maybe you met him at a point in time in his life where he didn't know how to be a good friend. Mm. I'm meeting him where he's maybe lost 10 good friendships, and now he's like, nope, I'm going to do everything the right way this time.
Yeah.
So if I just took your opinion, I may miss out on having the friendship of a lifetime because it wasn't good for you. Well, it might be great for me.
How do you feel about sacrifice when it comes to business? Like, sacrificing certain things for business? How far should you take that? I hate telling myself
no. So I'm still working through that. But there are times I do have to sacrifice, like coming back to work instead of spending more time with my kid. That was a sacrifice for me. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I gotta finish my contract, but I really want to continue being at home with my kid. Mm-hmm. But I was like, hey, at the end of the day, I have to, you know, complete my commitment. I said I was gonna do this, so I need to finish it.
Yeah.
So sacrifice comes with the territory. I think sacrifice becomes a bad thing where you're no longer enjoying what you're doing. Mm. So if let's just say, even with this job, if every single day I'm leaving and giving him to my mom and I'm just like crying and depressed because I have like, not gonna have this job long because I'm not gonna, that's like sacrificing, I feel like, my mental health at that point.
Yeah.
So I feel like you do have to forego some things, like not spend money as much and have delayed gratification, but if you do it so much to where it creates like this total negative, then no, don't. That's not good. That's just torture, self torture.
Yeah. Do you think you coming back to work while he's still young could be a good impression on him, or like? I don't know how to explain that. Well.
I know for my daughter, it helped her have a good work ethic because she's even said, and this was like when she was like 7 or 8. She's like, my mom works really hard. She works really hard for me. That's what she said. She works really hard for me so I can have everything I want. But like, I was okay with that. Like, I don't mind you thinking that I work for you, even though I'm working for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind that because then it's like, hey, if I want what I want, I have to work. And so I think, as he gets older, he's going to be probably spoiler than she is. But I think it teaches them, like, you have to work for what you want. Because and people are like, you know, if your daughter decides she don't want to go to college and, you know, would you still, like, pay for her to live? And I'm like, yeah, like, if she decides she doesn't want to go to college immediately, I want her to go travel the world for a year or two.
Experience something to
you gotta
know what
do
you want to
something,
do.
though. Like, you're not going to just sit in my house and not do anything.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, you don't want to go to college and you don't want to travel? Okay, well, start working then. Like, you have to do something. Mm-hmm. And that's really what I want them to learn. Like, don't get idle. Don't get stuck. Don't be lazy. That's what I want more than anything.
Is there a reason people should support you?
Yes, because I'm me. I'm awesome. If you want like real advice, like real insight into business and sometimes life, like if you want to see a healthy balance of life and business, like that's why you would follow me, because I show you all the good stuff And the bad stuff too. Like I pretty much have my life as like an open book because why not? Like
Yeah,
I don't want people to think, oh, if I start a business, everything gets great. No, sometimes it goes to crap, and then it gets great. But you got to keep going. Yeah.
Where can people find you at, Maleeka?
MaleekaHollaway.com online and on any social media site that I'm active on. Maleeka Hollaway.
Okay.
It's my name. Yeah.
Got you.
I leave it as my name.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.